Okay. New year, new me. New me, new shirt. New year, new me, new shirt. What? All right. Let's get this going. Hey guys, you're back with Steph and Dennis. Obviously, it's just me here today. And basically, I'm gonna be talking about why I have pretty much no money in my accounts. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen any of our previous videos, I know that sounds a bit crazy, but I'm gonna explain all of that here in a second. So before we kick things off, it looked like you guys really enjoyed Steph's video from last week where she went over her financial goals, her new investing strategy, her switching over to Wealthsimple and how that's going. Now for me, I'm taking a bit of a different path, a more DIY approach to investing. So if you're excited to see that, I'm gonna actually show you guys some hard-hitting numbers, walk through my budget template and everything. So make sure you do show us some love down below. Like, subscribe, you already know what it is, and let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to discuss before I hop into all of the investing stuff is around my debt-free journey. I updated you guys a couple months ago after I made a lump sum payment of $10,000 towards my debt. And basically due to COVID here in Canada, the government put a halt on all of student loans. So you didn't have to pay them back and they wouldn't accrue interest all the way up until September of 2020. Like I mentioned in that video, during the early months of the lockdown, no one really knew whether they'd have a job today, whether they'd have a job tomorrow. Job security overall wasn't really a thing. So the only sensible thing, in my opinion, was to store cash just in case. But once September hit and everything was back to normal, at least from a student loan perspective, I basically just took all the money that I've been saving for a few months and I threw it all at the loan, and that was that $10,000 payment. If you want to hear more about that, check out that video. But if we fast forward all the way to January, I have one more payment and then I am officially debt free. Let's go. Also, up until this time, budgeting and saving has been pretty easy for me given the fact that my budget's basically been the same exact amount for, who knows how long at this point. And then saving has pretty much been non-existent. But guess what? That's about to change and I couldn't be more pumped. I'm gonna walk you guys through my budgeting spreadsheet here in a second, and it'll show you sort of the detail around my expenses, my income, all the above. Overall, any money that's not going towards, necessary expenses is going to be either saved or invested. So now for the part that we've all been waiting for, including myself over the past couple of years, and that's me actually taking a crack at investing. Before I jump into my investing stuff and give you guys the numbers, I do want to address some questions that we got on Steph's 2021 financial plan video. So like we said in that video, we did a bunch of research on different discount brokerages, different robo-advisors, and ultimately the reason Steph decided to go with Wealthsimple was because she wanted to be more involved in her investments, but at the same time, she wanted a platform that was more user-friendly, that really wasn't as overwhelming, especially for someone who's a beginner investor who does want to know what's happening within, their investments and some of the things that are going on. So Wealthsimple sort of really hit the nail on that. Me, on the other hand, I want to be more hands-on with my investments, and to keep things short, I'm going to be building my own portfolio, starting out with some long-term ETFs. And really, it's nothing special. These are just funds that are going to provide me with that steady growth over time, and then I'll build around that. So from there, and if I'm building around those funds, that's when I'll add in, those value stocks. I'll look into those growth stocks. I'll look into those dividend yielding stocks. You get the point. Basically, we'll dive deeper in a future video, and I'll actually share how I'm actually planning on crafting this portfolio down to the detail. Okay, now if we're talking numbers, 22% of my income after I take away expenses is going directly into my high interest savings account. And then after that, 44%, remember, once again, after we take away expenses, 44% of my income is going to go towards my investment. So that includes those long-term funds that I talked about and any single stocks that I decide to invest in. In terms of actual dollar amounts, and keep in mind we're going to go through my budget here in a second, $1,000 is what's going to be going towards that high interest savings account. And then $1,500 is going to go towards the long-term investments. And then I'm going to have $500 set aside each month for any single stocks that I do want to invest in to, build out that portfolio. For me and Steph, really there's two key things that are really important to us. And these are the things that we looked into as we were making all these decisions. Number one is making sure that you're actually going to be investing, however that may be, right? And then number two is making sure that you're using something that's going to be the best possible platform for you to be as involved as you want to be and as you can be. So if that's Wealthsimple, then you go with Wealthsimple. If it's going to be Questrade and you're not going to be overwhelmed, if it's going to be interactive brokers, whatever it's going to be, that's what's going to be best for you. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna jump into my budgeting spreadsheet and I'm gonna go over my expenses, my income, and some of the different percentage breakdowns just to give you guys a bit more insight. So, first thing that I wanna look at here before I go over anything are the different accounts that I have. So you'll see here that I have 3 different accounts. I've got my Simply Financial checking account, I've got my EQ Bank Savings Plus account, and I've got my Quest Trade account. So, like I said before, guys, and I wasn't lying, I don't have that much money in these accounts as of yet, that is. Something else that I do want to point out before we dive deeper is I did get a promotion, and we mentioned that in one of the most recent videos. I did get a promotion which came with a pay bump, and I have reflected that as we go through my income later on. So, yeah. Diving into the expenses first. So right off the bat, we've got the heavy hitter. We've got your rent, $925. So something that I want to address. We got a question recently on Steph's video asking, how do you pay $925 in a city like Toronto? Well, I pay $925, she pays $925, total is $1,850. So we did do a video on, real estate in general in big cities, and basically we're in a renter's market. So this means that if you are someone who's looking to get into some of these big cities like Toronto and move downtown, now might be a good time because rents are really low. Yeah, so moving on to some of these other expenses, I'm not really gonna go over the utilities, internet, transportation. Transportation is zero because, we're not really going anywhere right now with the pandemic. Phone, really happy, $45, really happy with that one. So I get, good service from the company, and it's for that low price. So pretty happy about that. Next up, we have some of these subscriptions, right? So you're probably gonna find Netflix on a lot of people nowadays. You're gonna find that on a lot of their budgets. Something that you might not find on a lot of people is Epidemic Sound and Adobe Creative Cloud. So those two are YouTube specific, and they basically allow us to create the videos like this one that we're doing right now, right? So groceries. A lot of people might find this one high, and we were paying, prior to the pandemic, we were paying less than $300. But, basically we decided to switch grocery stores for, cleanliness reasons. But yeah, we've sort of been sitting at and hovering around that $300 amount, just below. So our budget for groceries has been consistently around $300. Restaurants, something that I want to point out. So I've said this before, but I budget $50 a month for me and Steph to either go to a restaurant pre-pandemic or to just, order in food, something, right? $50. Same thing with the coffee shop. So if, I'm going to go buy us a coffee, both of us, $15 is pretty good amount in my budget. Other category, that's for anything like toiletries, body soap, that sort of thing. That usually fits in there. And all of that adds up for this monthly total of $1,500. And yeah, so we're just above $1,500 mark, which I don't think is that bad, especially given that we live in a city like Toronto and we have the benefit of, splitting a really big expense like rent. So not too bad. Adds up to a total of just over $18,000 a year. So now if we jump down to the income side, I'm making just over $4,500, and that's with that pay bump that I was talking about earlier factored in. And once we subtract these expenses here from my monthly income, we have $3,000 or so to play with. And when I say play with, this means for me saving and investing. So dollar amount wise, here's the breakdown. So we've got $1,000 going to savings. We've got $1,500 going towards those long-term ETFs that I talked about earlier. And then we've also got $500 for single stocks that'll help me round out that portfolio and really invest in, companies that I want to invest in. Now, if we jump over to the monthly budget side, this is basically showcasing the same thing, all of our expenses. But what we've done here is we've broken them up and grouped them in different categories. So like I was saying before, if we want to look at things from a percentage perspective, I really do like this graph that we have here. You'll notice that my investing is 44% of the pie, and then saving is 22%. So something that I want you to keep in mind is my expenses so far over the last couple of years have remained the same, but my income has gradually grown. And right now, all of my expenses, all of these combined, account for approximately 33% of my income. But basically last year and all the times before that, it was 44, what did we say, 47%, I think. 47% of my income was expenses, which is pretty crazy. But you'll notice that as your income increases, that number also goes down, which is beautiful, right? So yeah, this is basically the main breakdown. If you want to pause here to check it out, I really do like that things are progressing in terms of the saving and investing side here. So love to see that. Now, before we jump back into the video, something that I do want to quickly mention when it comes to savings is we do have a lot of our savings, as you'll see, held in cash. And the reason we're doing that is because we plan on making some sort of investment, right? In the short term. So if you're planning on buying a house in the next, 1 or 2 years, for some people, it might make sense to have that in the market. For some people, it might make sense to have that in cash, right? So just something you should keep in mind. So the very last piece of the puzzle is around us growing our income. Now, a lot of you have asked us about our YouTube growth and the journey around how much money we've been making off of YouTube. And of course, we're gonna share that with you in some upcoming videos. But like Steph mentioned in her financial plan video, any of the numbers that we've shared with you so far don't include any of the money that we've made off of YouTube or are going to make off of YouTube in the future. Now, we put out a video a couple weeks ago where I talked about my worries when it comes to money, having money, making money, all the above with money. And if you haven't checked that out, I do highly recommend you do check it out after this video. But overall, when it comes to having a side hustle, you do see the value that you're bringing, in our case, to our audience, you guys, when it comes to the content that we make. But there's also the potential to earn extra income, right? I think we're living in a time where the more you know, the more you feel prepared when it comes to tackling future things. Basically, we're living the whole, knowledge is power type of thing. And like we always say, if you guys have any questions, please let us know down in the comment box below. I know a lot of YouTubers say that, it helps the algorithm, whatever. But me and Steph honestly do try and read and, answer all the comments that we can, because we want to make sure that we're providing the most value that we can given our experiences. So yeah, let us know if you have any thoughts. If you think about asking a question, go ahead. Okay, so that's it for my financial plan. Next week, Steph and I are coming back together in a video where we're breaking down the specifics of what we're investing in, where we're investing in. So for her, Wealth Simple, for me, Quest Trade. So make sure you stay tuned for that video. If you have any investing questions, if you have any investing video requests that you guys want us to cover, make sure you drop them down in the comment box below so we can add them to our list. In the meantime, if you haven't checked out Steph's 2021 financial plan video, highly recommend you check it out after this one coming up next. And once again, we'll see you next time, and yeah, let's go.